Hi, good afternoon. Home language. I'm using Zoom to record this. Delta Desk asked me to try it, so let's see how it goes. It's not live, but I'm going to use the whole system. So good evening. It is the 18th of June. It is now 20 to 4, and we are on the eve of the advanced lockdown 3. So hoping that we're going to get to hairdressers and we can start improving our haircuts. I'm ready to cut my own. So let's get on with this whole system. Hope you're all staying safe and working hard. We're on the second last lecture of this semester. Isn't it wonderful? Time has just flown. It's been a blur. So I'm going to now share my screen with you and get my PowerPoint up and running. So let's get it up. Hopefully you can see it. I have said share. I'm going to go on to slideshow. There we go. And there we are. Week 13. Lucky week 13, I hope. It's the 18th of June. As I said, it's nearly 20 to 4. And welcome to Resources for Teaching. The resources I'm going to look at basically are an overview of all the resources. If you've done this so far in Unit 3, we're going to look at learning outcome 1, speaking and listening, and learning outcome 2, reading and viewing, and we're going to look for resources for these. It's going to be an overview. Hopefully you get some good ideas, and that it's going to help you a bit to unpack some of the things that you need to. Okay, so first of all, tasks and activities. And yes, what are they? So there is all the online tracking tasks. We've gone from film study in week 11 to visual literacy last week, the 19th of June, last Friday, it had to be handed in. This week we're looking at resources, 26th of June will be handed in. Yes, there we go, all the resources for all our different genres. Assignments, yes, also coming due, 22nd of June. I'm going to chat a bit about that, about the assignment, as well as assignment for the reflection assignment. I'll also chat about that this evening. There's our due date, Monday, looming. I'm still getting through home language assignment 1. I've got about 16 to go. They take me half an hour assignment. And once we get into preparation, I just don't seem to have time. So hopefully at least by Saturday, I'll have finished all assignment 1s. And then comes the assignment 2. And then I'll have to get to assignment 3. So I'm holding my breath and working hard. There's all your genres for assignment 2. I'm going to go over assignment 2 now, 3, sorry, to give you some of the details that you need to know. So basically for assignment 3, you've got 5 different text types, and you've got to design an activity on each one of those. So I'm going to go through all the requirements now, so hopefully you can understand them. The first one is your text selection. So please ensure that for either for FET, SP, FAL, HL, that the text that you choose will be appropriate to and of interest to learners. Nothing boring, please. Remember, we've got our post-millennials on the brink, and they're already vibrant students. Look at the CAPS document if you're not sure. Task questions. You've got to actually have some kind of assessment or task that's going to have to be marked, and there's going to be some kind of mark allocation. So first of all, I want you to ensure that the questions vary in cognitive level. I did the whole thing on, I think it was week 8, on different kinds of questions. Go and check the CAPS document again. I'm going to be giving you this again about in the second or third last slide of this presentation, looking at the cognitive levels again. So it's not going to be all remembering and understanding. It's going to be some evaluative, some analyzing, some synthesizing type of questions as well. Check CAPS document for kinds of mark allocation. 100 marks? No. 5 marks? 10 marks? 20 marks or more in line. Okay. This is a question that I've been asked the most about. Must we have a lesson plan? No, you don't. But if you should choose to have a lesson plan, it's not a problem, because you've got to say how you're going to teach something, and you've got to unpack that. And if a lesson plan helps you do that, then use it. If it doesn't, and you've got the sections and I will know how you've taught it, then that's fine. So you will have to have lesson outcomes, because that's a requirement in the assignment. And you have to use a CLT process, a cumulative language teaching process, group work, text-based, discovery learning. You as teacher are not going to do everything, right? There's going to be, I can see things happening that the students are involved. Communication of meaning, go and check those definitions. That's what you're going to be judged on. And then a marking guide for that assessment. It can be a model answer, it can be a memorandum, it can be a rating scale, a rubric. It could be a rubric and a rating scale, a rubric and a checklist, but some kind of way you are going to mark that assessment. Second page, references. Please provide a reference for all your text or all your excerpts. It should be cited in text, and then there should be a reference at the end as well. So please make sure you are referencing all the things that need to be referenced. There is a mark for that. Set out each assignment as a classroom task. So I will see genre 1, which is your reading, SP, grade 8, and then I will see the task following that. Please, this is my plea to all of you. Please listen to this. There's my pleas. After marking assignment 1, submit all 5 genre activities as one document, not separate documents. I don't want 5 documents, please. One document. Organize and format it so that I can see the different sides. You can look at table of contents so I can actually see where they are, but not 10 million documents, please. Please submit as a Word document. Why? Because I use tracking devices to give comments on the Word document. Please don't use PDF. Why? Because I've got to use sticky notes and it's quite tedious to get the sticky note, type the comment if it's a PDF. So please don't submit a PDF. All right? Word document. If you don't understand, mail me. Clear headings for each genre section. So I can must see that this is number 1, what the genre section is, who it is for, what the grade is. Please make it clear for me so I don't have to try and unpack everything that you are doing. And if you have a table of contents, that'll be quite easy to do that. Okay, I had an interesting question today from Kelly from the about the assignment 4, the reflection. She asked whether some of these sections are the same, and yes, they are. So there can be some blended sections in this. For instance, section 1, distance learning, course experience and structures. These are pretty much the same. So what you're writing for the one, you'll be writing for the other. But please differentiate in terms of what you are putting as your title and your topic. So if you're writing for FET, please don't put SP. So make sure that your titles are appropriate. Maybe there is some differentiation between the language teaching for SP, there should be, or maybe there's no difference, and you can maybe say that, and FET. There will be differences for FL and for home language. So please draw those differences in. And the theoretical knowledge for FL is very different to home language, so there will be differences there. Also, specific language skills you need for SP will possibly be different for those which will be more cognitively applied for FET. So there will be some differentiation, but I can see there are some similarities as well. But when I'm marking your FET home language, I must know that this is home language FET, and I mustn't see SP in there. Okay, so just make sure that you are being consistent in how you apply your focus. Personal achievements and challenges. Maybe you felt you've done much better in home language or first additional or whatever you want to say, but that might be very similar. That's okay. All right. And then your course recommendations might be something different for FET, something different for SP, or they might be very similar. Okay, so there can be some blending. All right. Here we go. It's your reflection. I've been reflecting on this. 1,500 words, examples, reasons, and references. Now, someone said to me, I think it was Tracy, if it's all her own reflection, must there be a reference? And the big thing is, in life, most of our things are not our own unique thoughts. We've got them from other people, which we must reference. We should all be using Ferreira and Camille, I think, as a reference, because my thoughts and your thoughts are sometimes related to these thoughts. So there will be a reference there. If there's been any other theories that you have used or readings that you have, I see some of you have reflected on different writers and articles. Those two can be applied to your references. So I would expect to see at least 1, 2, 3 references. Okay, thank you. All right, the week doesn't pass without my spreadsheet. Here we go. I can see lots of black. Okay, I've already got one all read there, which is quite good for home language, so well done. And week 12 isn't finished yet. It finishes on Friday night. So I'm just drawing your attention to that. 26 of you have done the SP and 13 the FET. I'm sure it'll become black by next week. So thanks for being such diligent, good students. Very well done. You don't cause me any stress. I don't feel the city. Okay. And hoping to get your marking done soon. Language SP. Okay. So this is unit 3. We're coming to the end. Look at that. Reading it down. And we're on to the 18th of June, which is today. Creating effective and appropriate resources. So it's just extra ideas on resources that you could use for all the skills and the genres covered in this semester. All right, there's your resources. And next week we'll look quickly at the Zoom. Again, next week, best language teaching practices. So I hope it can be very applied and very theoretical for you to put some of your teeth into that. Okay, let's get on to tonight's lecture. The outline is of resources for teaching. We're going to look at different text types. Remember, CAP says they must be interesting and appropriate for the grade level, maybe a bit challenging as well. This is the words. Teachers should choose text types that are appropriate level of challenge for the grades that are teaching. So you must extend, remember, I+1, those are the ways we extend our students. So we'll be looking at learning outcome 1, listening, speaking. Learning outcome 2, reading, viewing, and last comment on being text-based. Okay, that'll wrap it up. Okay, let's get going. Right, just an overview on text types and this whole text-based type of teaching, how we should actually introduce it. And I saw this in assignment 1. Please, in your instructions, let the students know why you're using a certain text. Okay, why do we do this? Many reasons. It creates an expectation from them. So if you're going to say we're going to learn how to write summaries, this is a summary, then they know what they're going to do right at the start. And what they've done is this is going to motivate them to participate. It's going to activate schemata and knowledge and ideas because they did summaries last year. Or we're going to write references. This is an example of how you write references. And they'll be motivated to participate. They will know how to write a reference. Also makes them predictions and inferences. They'll be able to think about what they're going to do, and they'll have clarity about what they're going to be actually tasked to do as well. So don't just hit them with something, explain what it is and why they are doing it, or get them to discover what they are doing. This should all be appropriate to their age, their interest, and their backgrounds. Remember, a lot of our students come from different socio-economic backgrounds. They've got different interests. They've got different genders, they've got different interests, they've got different ages, they've got different interests. Okay. Okay, I'm going to quickly have a look at Generation Y, who are the millennials, born 1980 to 1996. I don't know if you've got any of those in your class. I think we're getting onto the Generation Zs in our teaching, 1997 to 2015, and we look at the difference between them now. And the big thing is they all want to have real life and topical situations. What's happening now, all about lockdown, COVID-19, going back to school, race violence, alcohol abuse, hospitals are all very relevant to us at the moment. No traveling, no going against borders, wearing different clothes, social distancing, all topical situations. Right, let's look at the generations. I'm actually a baby boomer. I'm a hardworking, loyal person. I don't job hop. That's typical of the baby boomers, but my kids are Generation X and they believe in a work-life balance because baby boomers just work all the time, so their kids want a balance between work and life. They are text messages, and they have a PC, much like I have as well. So Generation Y, which I think maybe many of you, you are for freedom and flexibility, you job hop, you're not a loyal person. You're very much online with your mobiles all the time, digital entrepreneurs, tablets, smartphones, you're digital natives. And we've got our new generation coming through, the millennials or post-millennials, Generation Z. They're into security and stability, very much like unlike the Generation Y because they didn't do anything. And so the Generation Z want to settle down. They're into FaceTime, multitask, do everything at the same time, and into nanocomputing, the next dimension, blockchain, and so on. And there you can see the differences. Generation Y, grouping together, just checking out something on internet or on the phone, whereas the Generation Z will be more concerned about their selfies and what they look like in them, very much who they are. Okay, and these are what your students are like at the moment. Maybe some of you are like that as well. Okay, we're going to do the four genres. First one is skills, listening. Henkel says or argues that listening is essential for FAL, first additional language activities, that you have to have listening. And I would say the same is for home language, that you always have listening. You're listening to a text, you listen to questions, you're listening to other people in the class. So you constantly need to be aware of your listening or active listening. Because it activates previous knowledge when you can hear what other people are talking about. You might not know exactly what they're saying, but if you can pick up things, you'll know what they're talking about, and you can make predictions about what the conversation is going to be about. So the other good thing about listening is that if you have been reading, only 1 or 2 students are involved in that, or answering a question, only 1 or 2 or 3. But if it's listening, every single student has to listen. So it's an activity we can all do together, and possibly will prevent boredom in the class if everybody is actively listening. So learning outcome 1, learners are expected to listen for information as well as enjoyment, so the fun part, and respond appropriately to what they've heard and critically to a wide range of situations. So it's a whole article about wearing masks for COVID-19. They will obviously be listening for information, but then they should be able to respond critically to it as well, or in an appropriate manner. Listening should be practiced, and this is going to be my theme word tonight. Practicing is so important. Some of you mentioned in assignment 1 with the listening comprehension, those of you that used it, is that many of the students in their feedback said that they felt apprehensive and they were confused and didn't really understand it. I think this is why you need to practice it. So the teacher should be doing it a few times before you actually give it as a quiz. It should be comprehensive. They should be knowing exactly what they're doing in detail, informative, they're going to learn something from it, and something that they're going to have to respond to critically or appreciatively. So remember those components. Okay, here's the practice part. The more you practice, you get. The more practice you get, the quicker your skills will improve. All right, and sometimes you don't want to hear that, but it's true. You should practice everything from speaking to listening to reading to writing, and you will improve. Okay, these are different listening models. This one is the bottom-up process. I don't remember in the listening section we had that little cartoon with someone spelling out the word table. So if there's table, one person might say table, and then slowly table will arrive in their head. Other ones is table and the picture's there. The bottom up is like spelling out. So it's reliant on decoding the sounds. All right, spelling it out. Individual sounds, table, the instruction into words, and putting those words into phrases, into sentences. So it's going right from the phonemes, the phonics of the word, to building up meaning. It's very slow. It takes a lot slower to do this than it does with the other way around. And you have to be familiar with the sounds in the target language, so you have to understand the phonics of the target language. And this is why you must expose students to listening activities. They should hear the target language, because even if they don't understand what you're saying, they'll get used to hearing the sounds, and therefore they can use this bottom-up model to understand what they are hearing. Okay, I try and speak a bit of isiXhosa. Difuna inyama kakulu. Okay, I don't know if you understand what I've said, but if someone's speaking isiXhosa, I will try and pick up words, bala, funda, hamba, and I try and understand what they are saying. And maybe very badly, I maybe understand what they are saying, but this is how we pick up bottom up. That's how I listen. Top down, all right, that is when you look at the text and your knowledge of the text, and you reconstruct the message based on your prior knowledge of that topic, the context, and your experience. So you're not looking at the actual words, you're associating what you're hearing with something that you've experienced before. And therefore, I might get a different meaning to you because my context is different to yours. And the speed at which I can decipher and understand is far quicker. then breaking it down into words and phonics, which is the detailed bottom up. So this is how often we have to listen, is by using our understanding of the context rather than spelling it out. Okay, listening types. In a class, you have reciprocal type of listening where you have to respond, like in a debate, for or against something. Conversations, you've got to group work, where you've got to actually speak about things or give your opinion about something. You have to give some bit of information. But it can also be listening, which is not requiring you really to give an answer verbally. This is when you are being taught something, you're getting new knowledge. When the teacher's going over the set work and she's doing all the work and telling you everything about the figures of speech, you're getting new knowledge and you're not really giving any information back. Or interactional, when you're trying to see a personal component in the message, somebody's saying something and you're trying to see what their tone was. Were they angry? Did they like what you did? And you try and give that understanding to it. Critical, where you're looking at what are the reasons and the evidence for what they say happened, an accident, how did it happen? Or recreational, a song, where you appreciate something random of an event and you can just say, oh, it was just such a nice experience, just love the song, or like the way the person said the poem. So those are things that you would say. These are different activities, those that require no overt response, like a song or video, you just have to listen to it. But there are other type of activities that require some kind of short response, like ticking an item in a list. So you'd have listing a comprehension about fruit, and they would have to tick which types of fruit were listed in the comprehension. Or carrying out instructions. You say to the person, do this, do this, do that, and they have to follow and do those things. True or false? Were apples mentioned in the list of fruit? No. True or false? You've got to guess what happened to all those vegetables or fruit. And skimming and scanning as well, to try and understand what was the most important idea in that. Long response would be answering the full question, summarizing, paraphrasing, note-taking, or be longer responses to listening activities. So for instance, as I said, brainstorm, if you've got the context and it's about fruit or vegetables or ingredients, you can put them in different groups. They've got to brainstorm all the words associated with that topic. It could be sport players, singers, actors, cities and countries, all the countries that they know in Europe and which cities they associate with that. Different kinds of cell phones and their prices, weather reports. What kind of weather do we have here? What does it mean if the pressure is that? So those are kinds of things that you could be brainstorming. And then they would have their activities based on, when they listen to the comprehension, ticking from a list, true, false, fact, opinion, short answers, all those kind of activities to test their listening. These are different listening text types, all listed in caps. Radio and TV shows, TED Talks, we can look at that now. Sport commentaries, theatre productions, cell phone conversations, interesting. Shopping conversations also. Loudspeaker announcements, if you're at airports or sport events at schools, what kind of loudspeaker announcements do you hear? Interesting meetings taking place between people discussing things. Conversations between famous people or friends. I mean, those could be interesting conversations. Right, this is a TED Talk example. If you go to TED Talk or TED.com, they've got topics about anything that you could possibly be interested in. Millions and millions of topics, which are all interesting, and it also tells you how long they're going to take. It would be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 7 minutes. So you can ask them to go and select their own TED Talk, make notes on it, key points, then write a summary about it, writing exercise, record, then speak out their summary, and create an audio summary of that whole TED Talk. Bring it back to class where they can discuss it with the class, their group, and they can ask questions on what they've just presented, as well as give their personal reflections. So there's a lot of richness of talking, listening, reading that comes up in this kind of exercise. I've got 2 links that are underneath this picture about going to this page that I've got here. There's lots been spoken about now about Black Lives Matter, TED Talks happening about this. So lots of interesting topical issues are now happening about all kinds of topics, from COVID-19 to racial violence and so on. Lots to talk about and lots to think about. Then you could do the mind map. You can see a very basic one, my future plans and goals. Here's one. This app makes it fun to pick up litter. Was a TED talk, conservation. And here's one. You smell with your body, not just with your nose. Okay, quite interesting. And this one did their mind map quite visually using Mind Map 3. Okay, we can use Poplet or lovely software to do mind maps. Right, we're getting to number 2 now, speaking with CAPS. It says there are, I think there are 3 processes that we need to concentrate when we're doing speaking. The first one would be the actual speaking process, where you'd have to go and plan, research, and organize your ideas, part of that prepared speech process. Then the whole thing of practicing, which is so important for speaking and your actual presenting. And that's when you need an awareness of audience, purpose, and the context of what you are actually doing. Your accurate use of language and different conventions, punctuation conventions and headings and so on. And then the delivery part, which is using the appropriate verbal and non-verbal techniques, that you're making eye contact, that you're projecting your voice, that you're using pauses, that your tone is correct, that your pace is correct, asking questions, not draping yourself on the podium, you're standing up straight, you're smiling, you're not looking all angry. So those are all part of your non-verbal that you have to actually practice. And then the features and conventions of oral communication. There are, I think, there are 5 of them. So the first one is informal speaking and group work, is mentioned in CAPS. Discussion, conversation, dialogues, unprepared reading aloud, and so on. And the more formal speaking, presenting, which is your prepared speech, unprepared speech, reading aloud, an interview, which is basically prepared, argument and viewpoint, your panel discussions, debates, speaking for specific purposes or context, like giving directions to people or instructions to them, introducing a speaker, offering a vote of thanks. This whole idea is how you link things. If you're giving a group discussion, how you make sure that the conversation flows, those important things that you need to say in between. And then you'd use examples of expressions which are conversational in English. So if you're introducing someone, you'll say, good evening, I'd like to introduce you to. Typical ways that you would actually introduce someone or propose a toast or sing happy birthday for someone. Okay. Right, this is the lessons, speaking lesson structure, what happens in the class. Just to remember that often people regard speaking as the most important skill, because if you can speak a language, you're regarded as a native tongue speaker of that language. And often it's what people can do quite easy. Remember the Bix and the Kelp? If you can speak a language, doesn't mean that you've got the Kelp part of it. So lesson structure is, first I will give, I'm saying this again, so it's practicing and giving instructions at the start of the class so they will know how this is going to be done, how the discussion, how the oral is going to take place. You put them in groups to brainstorm, to chat about things, because in a limited amount of time, you can have a lot of talk happening. Make sure they're interested in the topic. There's not some people that go, oh, I don't like that, and relates to their life. Low classes, FAL, can be easier language activities, not so complex. So just remember your levels and try and ask them to avoid using their home language. So if it's an English class, to use English, not use Xhosa or Zulu or Afrikaans or Sepedi. So you've got to practice. Vocab development is very important. So introduce and practice the new vocab in all kinds of different scenarios. And this could even be subject-specific words, geography words, history words, science that you could bring into the classroom. Geography, you speak about latitude and longitude, climatology, geomorphology, meteorology, cities, different vegetations. So you can bring all those concepts. We won't go into biology and science now as well, but those are all vocab that will help them in the content classrooms. So let's just think about speaking, okay? People might battle because I speak too fast, and that is a problem because it affects understanding. They might have a problem with the tone of my voice, maybe it's too high. The way I pronounce words, if I'm pronouncing it all wrong, you're not going to understand what I'm saying. And these become considerations for meaning. Accent doesn't seem to be too much of a problem. So if I come from Natal or Cape Town, you're supposed to have very nice accents. If you come from Johannesburg or you come from Eastern Cape, you've got very Afrikaans accents, they say. But normally people can understand you if you come from a similar country. However, when accents and pronunciation are bad, this could hamper meaning, and this is when it becomes a problem. So if you're not pronouncing your words, you're saying advertisement, and you've got a very bad accent, people might not know what you're talking about. So you've got to think about those considerations. Just about pronunciation as well, the sounds in different languages are often impact on meaning and understanding. So especially for isiXhosa, I think it's isiZulu as well, the I sound is sometimes pronounced as a diphthong E sound. Okay, what do I mean? So if I say I will do this, I will say I will do that. All right. If I say there is a ship in the harbor, I will say there is a sheep in the harbor. So think about sentences. If you say I will become a pilot instead of I will become a pilot, people might think about where does this will come in? So there becomes a problem in understanding. Or the sheep came into the harbor. People wonder, well, how did the sheep come into the harbor? In UAE, in Arabic, they don't have the P and the B. They don't have a P. So they often will say, I will bark my car. All right, it's just saying, I will park my car. So they put a B. And you think, well, why are they barking their car? Where's the dog? So it can cause misunderstanding if you're pronouncing the words wrongly. Practice again. CALP and BICS, your academic, cognitive academic language, or your basic communication style. Remember, BICS does not give you CALP. So if you can talk, it doesn't mean you can often read, maybe, or write properly, but you might be able to speak properly. So you've got to introduce the high order thinking skills into your classroom so they can start practicing the CALP type meaning and use of words. And often this will mean that use what questions rather than you're close, do you like this, will you come, did you go there, yes, no type questions, or BICS, okay? So just rather say what. And those are things like, what if I win idols? All right, then they've got to give more explanation of what will happen. Or if I become a member of Bafana Bafana or a Springbok, what? What if I become the Minister of Basic Education? Now, this COVID-19 opening up the schools. I mean, would you like to be the Minister of Basic Education? I would not like to be that person at all. What if I, and then there's something to think about and to develop speaking from those prompts. Other speaking topics, there's lots of general topics that are very appropriate and relevant to our students, right from shopping to clothes to parties to health issues to occupations. Social media is always a good topic as well. Advanced topics, there's lots as you go into grade 12, driving in traffic, getting your driver's license, study opportunities, future plans, traveling, bursary and job applications, interviews, corruption. What about school rules? Having your hair cut before you're allowed to go back to school. And what about government rules or laws? No smoking, no tobacco products. So to talk about these things, and there's a chance for debate and discussion. My special attributes, what makes me special as a person. What about alcohol abuse at the moment with the lifting of the ban on alcohol in level 3. So all these things are debatable issues that will bring out a lot of interest in the students as well. How do we promote speaking? We can often bring pictures and images to the classroom. One very good way to get them thinking about it. You can see I've also got a link at the bottom here for TESOL Teacher Talk. It's also quite a nice blog to go and look at about speaking activities. Bring pictures of cell phones or get them to pick pictures of cell phones, clothing, social media, cars, all interesting topics. Dialogues between a prefect and a grade 8 learner, different interviews. Traffic officer and a driver if you've been overtaken on a barrier line and you've been pulled over. Okay, what kind of conversation could follow? Discussions about a car accident. How did it happen? How did the story end? What happens if a player misses a goal? What kind of, just imagine the discussions that take place at that. Also writing a drama and then acting it out, but there's also fun ways like games. The first one there is 10 things we have in common, and I'll show you an example of that. So you get the students to break up into groups of 6, and they've got to go and discover what 6 things they have in common, and they will all have things in common. For instance, we were all born in Port Elizabeth, or we're all the first born in our family. So different things they would discover about themselves. Then also 3 things you should know before. So 3 things you should know before you apply for your driver's license. What would they be? 3 things before you can attend university. 3 things you should know before you can get data. I mean, all these things that are important, but so many things that can spark with interest. I came across this one, which is quite nice, is throw the dice. There's the dice. Okay. Depending in your groups, depending on where you're sitting and the number you throw, you will have to answer that question. So for instance, if you throw 1, be a short question like, where do you live? Which is quite easy. Number 2 would be, what do you like to do? 3 is, what do you do on a Saturday? More detail. 4, which season do you like the most and why? All right, more detail. What do you wear when you go to a party? Okay, it could be quite interesting. And then number 6, what clothes would you like to wear to school? You could say, and why? All right, so then I went and Googled a few things. There's quite a few, this could relate to all kinds of genres, from short stories to reading comprehensions, as a nice pre-lesson to get them into the story. So in the text analysis, if you throw 1, what is the main topic of the text? What is it mostly about? If you throw 1. If you throw 6, what is the title of the text? Make up a new title, okay, quite creative. 4, what is the purpose of the text? Why did the author write it? So different questions you would ask for textual analysis. This is, okay, I'm going the wrong way. This is for short stories. 1, it would be, which character from the story would make the best friend? All right. You throw 3, which character from the story would not be a good friend? Throw 5, would you recommend this book to others? And number 6, what was your favorite part of the story? So they could relate to short stories as well. And here's the last one, roll the dice. 1 to 6, just general topics. Number 1 would be, have you ever cooked a magnificent meal? Obviously describe it. Number 3, is having a pet really worth the effort? Okay, I would say yes. Number 5, what phone app would you do not live without? Okay, WhatsApp, TikTok, I don't know. I'm not sure what you would need on your phone. Me, it would be Facebook as well. And which sport do you wish you had excelled at? Maybe it'd be swimming or surfing or rollerblading. I can't roller skate, so maybe I should say that, or rollerblade. Letting some things out about myself. Right, and this is the 10 things we had in common. Was when I did this in before I came back from the UAE, and they went around and they got these 10 things and they put it together on a slide. They were married. Number 1, they all spoke Arabic. They could drive. They were Muslims. They were HT students. They liked traveling. They were Arabs. They were all studying business. They loved music, and they all had iPhones. Okay, so there you go, and they visually depicted all of those. So good, easy orientation past the lesson, and gets them all talking as well and listening. Mini presentations, 3 important things you should know before, and here's a whole lot of topics. Before you have a child, what 3 things should you know? Going on a diet, what 3 things should you know? Buying a car, a laptop, a house, paying a fine. So there's a whole lot, and they could all choose different topics, and they could try and think of the 3 things that they would do before they would do that. I have actually got a presentation on this, but I'm not going to show it to you now. Okay, I'm getting on to reading now. This is your learning outcome 2, and according to CAP says that reading and viewing combine 2 elements. It's decoding and understanding, and applying knowledge of text features. So if you are reading and viewing, you have to decode what you're reading and understand it, as well as apply that knowledge of what you are reading. They say reading for 3 things. 1 is for comprehension, is your textual analysis. Otherwise, for reading of your formal study, your set work, or for your extended independent reading as well, your fun reading. And to teach it, you've got the 3 phases: the pre-reading, where you build up your prior knowledge and your associations, looking at surface features. Second thing is looking at the text structure and the language in more detail. And then post-reading is when you try and reproduce what you've actually read. Right, and theoretically, reading is very complex. Okay, I would say it's one of the most complex of all the skills. Again, you have the bottom-up model, where you start with the smallest units of meaning, Look at the phonemes and the letter sounds. If you're reading like that, can you see how slow it can be? Then you decode the letters and the words, and then you focus on phonics. And that's reading from bottom up, top down. You start with the knowledge that you have, and then you build a meaning from that knowledge and experience, and you reconstruct meanings. But then they've also got the interactional model, which is maybe the better, combining both of those, where you get information from the text as well as your own experiences. So you use both of that, text and experiences, and how they interact with that meaning to decode what you're reading and give you meaning. So you've got information that you've got in your head, your knowledge, you've got information from the text, and you see how those two come together to give meaning to what you're reading about. And I think this is quite a stronger model for me. Comprehension type questions for all kinds of questions. Don't forget Bloom's taxonomy and how to set questions, right from the low order, the remembering and understanding, which is just relying on memory, to the more application, analyzing, and then the more higher order, the evaluating and the creativity. So if you're asking them just to list the literal things, it's all going to be remembering and understanding the lower order. Reorganizing, which is bringing in analysis, synthesis, organization, that's the middle order, getting slightly more complex. Compare and contrast comes in there. Outline of events. Inference is to answer things that aren't actually explicitly stated. So we're coming to evaluate, to project our answers. Why did he write this? What made him feel this way? And maybe it wasn't even in the text, and you've got to actually identify that. Evaluation is near the top, higher order, dealing with judgments of value and worth and credibility, fact and opinion. Do you think it's possible that this could happen? Is the writer's enthusiastic attitude justifiable? Based on your life experiences, do you agree with this observation? So can you see that you are evaluating and using your own experiences to answer this? And finally is appreciation, how the text affects you emotionally, the characters, the incidents, your reactions to the use of language. And this is quite a creative way to express your thoughts. And this is really higher order. Okay, so don't forget your different cognitive levels. Going down, okay, bottom up, top down, okay. Tips on answering comprehension questions, digging into that reading. So when your students go and answer comprehension, is to use their own words, and yes, they say they must quote, use full sentences, and yes, they can see they say just list a phrase, not to repeat the question, not needed, and only give them the information that they asked for. Don't write the whole paragraph. Quote correctly and use quotation marks, introduce and explain quotations, unless you simply ask to quote, read the question. Do not quote a long sentence when a word or phrase is adequate. All right, shows you don't know the answer. Look at the mark allocation to see how much you must write. When you're asked to give your view, always give a reason for why. Did you like this? Don't just say yes. Say yes, why, or no, and give the reason. And don't use abbreviations or slang. No wanna, gonna, shoulda. Okay, none of that. Don't, won't, can't, not needed. Also, if you want to get a lot of resources, if you look at Pinterest, they've got lots of worksheets there, so you could find a lot. And I've got these from it. These are close readings, things that you can do to close read things. Read the text slowly, at least twice, and there's a first tick you will give, a checklist. Get the gist of what the text is about, another tick. Circle the words you're unsure of and try and figure them out. You circle those. Reread, gather evidence, and so on. You can tick all those. Nice checklist of reading through the reading. Or this is a three-part one. Is the first read, get the gist of what you're reading about. What is the main idea? And the second read, dig a little deeper. What text structures and text features really? What is the purpose? How does the author feel about the subject? Why did he use those words? And then the third time you read it, you put it all together. How does the author support the key points? How does this relate to the text I've read before? How does this relate to my life? Those kind of questions. And yes, the last one, the SQ3R. The first thing you do is scan, quick. I like this, go over it. Then you read the questions and you try and label each question with a skill. Then you read the paragraph and write a summary. reread it and then highlight the question answers. Do you think you can see? Then check that you've answered all the questions and that you've used all the evidence. So this is one way you can also give a structured approach to reading. Okay, we're going to 4, the last one, the rise of the visual. What have you been doing for the last 2 weeks? Remember, visual embeds our life. We are in a visual-dominated culture. We want to see everything, and we are very empowered by visual images. So always adopt a text-based approach which explores how texts work, because this visual will enable learners to become competent, confident, and critical readers and designers of text, so they can actually see how things are written and how they can design text. This will involve them listening to, reading, viewing, and analyzing the text to see how they are produced. How does the text come together and what the effects are? And then they can evaluate them all critically. This is text as well as visual. It'll also enable them to reflect on their own lives, the experiences, and think of other alternative world views through evaluating text. So you're enabling students to understand the worlds around them. And this might challenge their perspectives and values and power situations embedded in by these things embedded in the text. So text can be very empowering and can liberate our students' minds as well. Okay, here's an example. If it is not a wave, then what is it? For them to try and look at that visually and sort of think, well, what could it be? Could it be the tail of a fish? Okay, or could it be someone taking a bite of my apple? So you try and get them to create ideas from what that could possibly be. Someone wearing a hoodie. I don't know. Right, visual resources. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So often if you see a picture, instead of writing a whole paragraph about it, it says it all. So visual is very important. So start collecting your visuals and use visuals all the time in interesting ways. Use these visual texts to analyze why the designer used that angle or that shot or that sequence. What is the effect of putting those characters so far apart or putting them so close together? So you would actually analyze the effect of those choices. Then you must include production where they can redesign something so they can produce their own visual text. They can do this by drawing if they are very artistic, or cutting out images to make it, making collages, taking photographs. Our phones do it all for us. Using internet, PowerPoints, they can be very creative using all these different techniques. And then I've said, go look at curriculum statements for grades 10 and 12, content and context, giving you so many ideas for you to look at in terms of your class creation. Interesting visual. There's a cartoon, and yeah, we've got hubby coming home from work. Hi, honey, I'm home. And there's the beautiful wife in a nice dress, gloves on, taking the food out of the oven just at the time he walks through the door. These poor good kids sitting at the well-set-out table. It's all the things you can discuss in this. But then you've also got the whole stereotype. This is the man earning the money and the wife sitting at home, cooking the meal, looking beautiful, and these gorgeous kids just not doing homework, but sitting so neatly in this beautiful house. So this is one image we have, and we can discuss that. Or another point of view is, all mothers should not be obliged to stay at home and care for their children. Okay, here we've got the mom who stayed at home, looked after the kids, and here we've got women that might want to go to work and to debate and discuss these issues, how it impacts, and might liberate some thinking in your class. I had a student who said to me his wife would never work. She would stay at home, look after the kids. Didn't matter if she was a doctor, she would have to go and stay at home and not work. So you need to challenge concepts and mindsets in our students by exposing them to these kind of texts. Okay, let's go on. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Okay, active viewing, what do you see? There's different things. If you're going to analyze a picture, who appears in the image? Look at that lady and discuss her, the husband, the children, the parents, what they look like, what is their body language, the facial expressions, the proxemics, what is happening in the picture to describe that. And then I referred to this last week, is going to look at table 14.1 in Ferreira again, who describes how you can analyze a picture actively. Let's look at this one. Interesting picture. How long can you live? And then to look at the wording, the font, how it was changed, going to the whole y-axis there along the side. And you've got cigarette burning, how do you unpack it? A person who smokes that much or little 62. The less you smoke, the longer you're going to live, to unpack all that. What about this one? No more killing. And this looks like Twin Towers and cigarettes tied up with Twin Towers, that whole image of what happened in 9/11. No more killing, and this is what cigarettes are doing. They're also killing people. What about the effect of smoking and beauty? If you see the side of the lady's face with no smoking, no beautiful clear complexion, and the other side you see the wrinkles and the grayness and what smoking has done to her. And you could compare it to this, what happened in the 40s and 50s, when smoking was pretty cool. And these are called Tareyton hundreds. It's better charcoal is why. And what they're saying here is these smokers, us Tareyton smokers, would rather fight than switch their brand. And she looks pretty happy to be smoking, relaxed, and she's ready to fight for smoking. So things have changed a lot since then. But these visuals will help you to unpack stereotypes and what we think about smoking, and also give good messages which will challenge people to think differently. All right, this is my last slide. Aren't you happy? Special focus. This is also from Ferreira. What she says is that I'm still on text-based approaches. It's so important. These text-based approaches ensure that all our listening, our speaking, our reading, and our viewing activities are applied. That means they can be practiced. They're contextualized in relation to real text. So whatever we are reading, whatever we are listening to, whatever we are saying, whatever we are viewing should be applied, practiced, and contextualized in real things that are happening, not made up, real stuff. There's so much real out there. And the second thing she says is there's a very strong relationship between the visual and the textual. It's a rich relationship, and will extend our learners' visual, what they see, and their textual, their reading and their writing horizons. It will extend this as well as stimulating their thinking. So remember, all your resources, your texts must provide that visual and textual experience for your students, and will extend them, their thinking and their visual, and they challenge their thoughts and their stereotypes, to embrace new thoughts and ideas in a creative way. So that's me for tonight. Here's my last slide. Open educational resources, all kinds of resources there that you can find for anything. Internet is rich with sources as well. Digital is amazing, so you can actually get everything at a fingertip. I've got a whole lot of things texts I've bought, which have got extremely rich resources in. I would just say, just be creative, collect, listen to your students, and there's just so much around that you would actually use to make great lessons. Assignment ones that I've been marking, I've seen fabulous creative lessons that have emerged from social media to different kinds of listening exercises. I've been amazed. I've also been bored with teacher-centeredness. So think about that in your teaching designs always. Okay, your learner's got to learn, not you. You know how to talk English. What I said to you, they've got to learn to practice and use the language. So good night from me. I'm going to stop the share now, and I'll chat to you next week. It's going to be a Zoom on best teaching practices. Okay. Good night.